Guy on a buffalo, picking my nose. I'm kind of stuffy. Okay, it has officially been 1 year of me living full-time in a van.
Are you gonna get up or anything? Or are you sitting here the whole time?
Probably sitting here.
Clip it on like your pants or something.
Can you hear me now?
So we can try and hide it a little bit.
Like here? I mean, I don't know where else we would be able to stick it. You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
From my crotch.
Put it back on your shirt. Put it a little more like, there you go, that's good.
Are we still rolling that whole time?
Yep.
Okay, so you've seen us adjust the mic. You might be able to notice my sweet new shock collar I have on. It's actually the microphone. We forgot the lav, and all we've got is this end of the mic, which is what? The Rode Go, the Rode Wireless Go microphone. Usually we're running the lav off of it, but this is what I look like today. And I'm also in this sweet little camping chair, so if I look squatty, that's why. You got Andy back there stoking a fire, and then you got Aaron over here stoking on life. And then Rocky is hanging out in the smoke itself by the van. And Archer's out too. He's actually underneath the tire there. So moving into the van was kind of a wild idea, I guess. For most people, when I said I was gonna live in a van, they were like, oh, good luck. And when I said I was gonna live in a van with 2 animals, especially the cat, they were like, yeah, right, that's not gonna happen. So that actually made me more determined to do it. I ended up with this van. I converted it within a month and a half to make it livable. And we're off. This is officially the beginning of living in a van. So me living in a van, it wasn't like I was going out on these crazy adventures in different states and countries and stuff like that. I literally moved into a van and parked it in my buddy's driveway. I am now stuck sideways in his driveway. When I first moved into the van, I had it about 50% done. I had the electrical ran, I had a bed in there, I didn't have running water or propane or like the window blackouts or the walls in. It was very bare bones, like a skeleton of a van. The biggest thing was making sure the electrical was ran in the solar, which I had done. The reason it was important is because it was really hot and I had that AC unit put in there and I wanted to make sure that we would stay cool while we were in there. So it's my first night. I made it to my buddy Joe's place. I think it's like 93 out. But yeah, I was able to plug into the power from his garage and now I'm running the AC unit because it's super hot. It's not unbearable, I'll be fine. I'll be fine to sleep in this. And because I wasn't able to keep it very cool in there during the day while I was at work, I didn't have Archer. It was just Rocky and I in the beginning. Archer was staying with Andy actually before he moved in when the weather broke and I felt comfortable with him being in there. So for that first week, it was kind of a big adjustment. It was weird moving into a van. When I pulled in that first night, it was such a mess. His house is a mess. His grass was like a knee high. No joke, it's up to my knees. So chucked full of shit. His garage is chucked full of shit. It was a mess. And I had to pull all the stuff out. My seat just broke. My seat's broken. I want to point it out just in case I do fall. Anyways, I needed to clean out his garage so that I had space to keep working on the van while I was parked there. And I needed to clear his yard out because if I wanted to park the van in his driveway and let the pets out, I needed to know that there wasn't like glass and knives and all sorts of crazy shit in there that they could step on or get into. So that whole first week I was there was basically trying to get Joe's place livable, I guess. So it did cool off in here. I got under my blankets actually, but it was an okay first night. All right, first day doing full day, first full day doing van stuff, living in a van. I went into work after taking that full week off and I showed everybody at work what we had done to the van. So the guys at work want to see the van, so I'm gonna bring them down. I guess they're coming to me.
You got a pirate shirt on?
Pirate shirt?
Yeah, this looks like a pirate.
Don't have your hopes up. Like, it's not great.
Coming in.
It's a 6-inch memory foam.
Cheap Amazon ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Lights, I've got those lights.
Oh, those are nice.
These are gonna be kitchen overhead lights. Yeah, that's this room. And then that stuff lives there. That's the hot water heater and that's the furnace.
What up, guys?
No, not yet. No gas hooked up to it. And then it was funny, after I did it, after the day of work, it was like, okay, I'm gonna go home. So we're on our way home from work and we're home. But it was just going to the parking lot because now my home was mobile and right wherever I am. So it was like 95 today. It is super hot in the van. The plan is to head to Joe's house and then mow his lawn. So I needed to clean his yard out. Here's his yard. Rafts, random tarps, chairs galore, thing full of random garbage. This is the trailer I'm gonna load stuff onto. But look at how tall the grass is. And I started out by pulling all the random shit he had in the yard and putting it on a trailer and then shoving the trailer to the side of the house. As you can see, I've started to pull some of the stuff out of the yard. Still got a shit ton to do. Once I had that clear, I took the push mower and I cut that grass down to a respectable height. That took me like a day, or at least an afternoon after work to do. You have a bug hanging in front of the lens. Once I had that cleared out, I started to tackle the garage. Look at this burn pile I made. It's huge. I don't know if you could tell how dirty and sweaty I am. I got the yard cut for the most part, and then I pulled a bunch of shit out of here. Like almost all this stuff that you see in front of you. And I stacked some stuff on these carts. I put stuff in containers. Now, Thursday, I need to tackle all of this shit. Once it was to a decent spot, I went and grabbed all my shelves and organizational things from Andrew's place, which I was keeping my stuff in his shed. And then I took all of his stuff, put it in bags and containers, and then stacked it into shelves and organized it as best I could. Another thing that he had was this crazy overgrowth of branches on his trees over his driveway. So right when I pulled in there that first night, I broke my cell booster antenna off. So I went out there and I started to cut those branches off. I actually almost dropped one on somebody who was walking by on the sidewalk. I'm so sorry. And I hacked my finger open. Just a little bit bloody. Not bad, I think I just nicked myself. That first week, I had to really get used to it being hot at night. I tried the fans, but with it being so humid, I ended up just getting really soggy. And you could tell in the videos, my face is like swollen. So it was a hot night. Tried using the fan, and it's so humid, it was just like I was a giant soggy mess. So Rocky and I a couple times slept on the floor because the AC unit was working, but I had no real good circulation in there. So it's another hot one. It's slowly cooling off in here. Heat rises and the cold air is definitely staying on the floor. And it's just not circulating in here properly. So that's where we usually sleep, which is like 4 feet up. But tonight I set my sleeping bag down with some extra stuff right next to the unit. Rocky squeezed in here with me. And then I got my sweet TV and we're gonna sleep on the floor tonight. This summer, I did figure out a way to keep it cool in there, but I'll talk about that later in the video. I guess overnight, after 8 hours, it would cool off. So in the morning, it was nice and chill in there. But initially going to bed, it was hot. Leaf, anyone? And then grocery shopping wise, I could really only keep dry goods because I did have a fridge running, but I quickly realized it wasn't a fridge. So this is all now exploded bubbly. I actually ordered a freezer. It's a standing freezer. So yeah, everything in it is freezing. Johnson Controls freezer fridge controller. So hopefully I'm turning my freezer into a fridge. None of it's frozen, so that's good. Showers. I didn't have running water and I needed to find out a place to shower. And initially I thought, okay, I'll shower at Joe's. Joe's place, pretty dirty, so I didn't really like showering there. And a rusty nail, just in case, you know, you're up to date on your tetanus shots and want to test it out. But I eventually got a membership at the Y to use their showers. And then I had an incident with a naked man following me around, so I only showered there twice before that happened, and I was like, I don't want to shower here anymore. Eventually, I ended up just showering at the climbing gym because they have 2 showers there and nobody uses them. They're nice and private. I can get in there, shower, get out without anybody bugging me, and that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want naked men stalking me around, asking me about my day and what I do for a living. So I guess that was the first week, mainly just me getting Joe's spot into a good place for me to work at and stay at. The second week, I thought, all right, I'm gonna start vlogging. Freddie and I are on our way to what is this shoot considered? A freebie. I need to start vlogging like my day. Yeah. So I'm gonna start just filming random stuff. So I tried, and I failed. But I tried again on another shoot. Freddie and I were operating a drone at this abandoned, what was it? It was a stamping plant. Yeah, so it was an old stamping plant. But yeah, they rented a big RV. I took the van out there, and this time I actually recorded it. All right, we're getting pretty close. I remember this bridge. Marky's already sweating his ass off because there's so much space to run. We made the set, but there's the van, and there's the big van. So we're filming a projector. I fly a drone to see that. That's the projector. What's the security here for?
It's secure for this, basically.
All night?
Yeah.
That's a sucky job. You probably can't see anything.
It's so blown out.
Yeah.
We'll tell people you're in California, where it's sunny all the time.
Yeah, look it, I'm hit.
You guys with the yellow shirts live out here, huh?
Sunny, it's California.
Yeah. Just kidding, we're in this bum town. We went to a grocery store / restaurant.
I forgot my food.
All they had for vegetarian options is shredders and guac. We tried to play Smash Bros. We couldn't get it working. There's the city. That's a big screen.
Dude, I just don't think there's any way that it's gonna work.
And then we ended up playing the NES Classic Street Fighter. I'm tired. A little quarter-mile jog. All right, back in the van. I'm gonna set myself up, get to bed. I gotta get up in like 4 hours. So, cool. It's 5 a.m. and I'm super sticky and I didn't sleep at all. And the fans did their job, but man, when it's humid, it sucks. My body feels like a giant sticky note.
Where's the actual? Which was one focus with over
And then you're gonna hold on the... We don't start on the waterfall, right? We start a little bit downstream of it.
Correct.
Oh, I
We're
see
rolling.
It. It's directly
Here we go. Do you see that?
We're going up.
Yeah. Just finished up the drone shots, and we're gonna go get breakfast or something. Breakfast!
And that was really all I filmed for the second week. At the end of the second week, I had Andy and Job come over. We burnt the big pile of shit that I built up in Joe's yard. And they brought Archer along. And so we got to see how Archer kind of acclimated to the van. And I knew, Spider, go. So it's the end of week 2, and Archer's here, or just his ass. I don't know if you can see his eyes. Oh, you totally can. Oh, don't look at me, I don't want to be on camera. We'll see how he reacts to being in here. Yeah. All right, I'll take my time. Actually, no, I'm gonna get right out. You wrestling up there, Rock? So we still have the fire going on outside. I got the air running in here, and I think Archer is getting fairly used to it. We do, Arch. I'm pumped. I think he's glad to see us too. He hasn't seen me in 3 weeks, so it's good. I knew he wasn't gonna be able to stay with me at the time. I just wanted to see how he reacted being in that tight of a space, and he seemed to really like it. Hold on. Bubbly. If you guys wanna do some product placement. So the month of September, I didn't really get a lot done on the van. I think I only got a couple of the wood pieces up on the doors, and I might have put the couch in. But we were about to do our big Tetons trip at the end of October. So the whole month of October was trying to get the van ready for our big trip, which meant I needed to get water running, and then I needed the gas running for the furnace because it was gonna be cold, and the oven and stove so I could cook things, and the hot water heater so I could take showers. So that whole month, I would go every weekend back to my dad's place to get that all done. So I spent a lot of time getting the bathroom in. That was probably the biggest time-consuming thing. And then we quickly got the water running.
There's your air.
And we quickly got the gas lines going. We also got the couch done so that the pull-out was ready for Andy. I only put together like a little table thing, so it wasn't completely done, but it worked, so he could have a spare bed. Oh, and the dining table. We got the dining table in. That was like a big win. But for the most part, it came together, and we had it ready for the big trip. So once everything was ready, we went on our big Tetons trip, which, if you haven't seen that, go check it out. Yes! We're getting close. It's a 2-part thing. That happened. Then, after the Tetons trip, I finally got Archer.
Hello?
Hey, are you back?
Yes. You have to follow me up. I just got back.
Recording this whole thing.
Yeah. Hello? See how he does. I see him right there. Oh! You smell like that stupid dog.
Oh, he's gonna be pissed. He's gonna be pissed.
The reason I didn't get Archer was because in the beginning it was too hot, and then when it started to cool off, I didn't want him freezing in the van while I wasn't in there. Once I had the furnace going, he'd be fine while I was at work, so I finally got Archer. And that was kind of a big, exciting moment. I was pumped to finally have him in there. What are you doing, Arch? Rocky's like, what the fuck? At first, he was a little like skeptical. You could tell he was nervous coming into the situation, but he quickly warmed up to it. So Archer seems to be getting used to the setup. He's not. It didn't take long for him to get like fed up and want to go outside, which was a whole thing. I didn't really want to leave him outside. He was never an outdoor cat, and I was worried he'd run away. So I kept him inside for the most part. I mean, he escaped a couple times, and I'd have to chase him down and get him back in and like crawl under the trailer that's in Joe's yard. Oh, look who it is. Eventually I started to put a harness on him and then let him outside and see how that would go. But he kept like sucking his fat in and pulling out of the harness. And I thought for sure he was so fat, there's no way he was gonna get out of it. But he was like a piece of putty and just, he would suck right out. And then I just gave up. He escaped like 4 times and I was just like, forget it. I'm not gonna chase after him. And then I left him out there for like an hour. I called his name and he came running back. We eventually like learned this habit of he would stay by the van, he'd just hang out outside for a while. I'd call his name, he'd come back. And I think the big thing is he knows I have food. So he always comes back. And now that it's been a year, he's really good. Like he's hanging out here and he's just hanging at the van. He did go explore a little bit. Oh, trouble. But he always stays in the area. I'm a little worried about letting him out at night because there's foxes and coyotes and things like that that I don't want him to run into. But when it's during the day like this and we can keep an eye on him, he just farts around. So like I said, being in Indiana, you have a really short fall season. It's like a month, but it's only really like 2 weeks. And then snow hits the ground. And then it's like just not cold anymore. And then it's freezing cold and then it's not cold. But anyways, winter hit.
Freeze warning from Thursday 4 a.m. until Thursday 9 a.m.
Being in the van during the winter, everybody in my family was like, oh, you're gonna freeze to death, and blah, 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 blah. And honestly, I like the colder weather better compared to the hot weather because I can layer up, but I can't like whip my skin off when it's humid and hot. I can always put more layers on. I can only get down to my birthday suit and that's it.
It's another cold night.
But after a couple weeks, I started to experience what it was like to have freezing gray water.
So my water is frozen. I can't even open the drain valve in the back. It's got ice all over it. I did dishes and that water's not going down at all. And then I looked in the bathroom and that RV antifreeze, the marine stuff, is bubbling up. Okay, so this was frozen shut last night. You can see this piece of ice that I just knocked out. You can't see it. Yes, you can. That's ice. It was frozen shut last night, so I couldn't even move this lever. Oh, but I can now. So let's see if it comes out at all. Nope. That's a big ice chunk.
Now, I know the way we set up our gray water tank and then having where you like empty it, it's a really long run. It's like a 6-foot PVC tube and it's not insulated. So that is the first thing to freeze. Inside the van, it was fine. Everything was staying nice and thawed out. But the second it got into that gray water out of the holding tank, it would freeze in that tube and I wouldn't be able to empty it. So there was a few times where I'd have to stop using any of my water in the van and I'd have to shower at the gym again or into Joe's place and I'd have to do my dishes at Joe's place, which was kind of a pain. So then I thought, okay, maybe I put some heating pads down there. So I put a heating pad on the gray water tank and I put a heating pad on my freshwater tank. So I didn't put that to a switch. I should have put that to a switch because one of the nights, when I put it on there, which was working, it was thawing everything out.
Yes.
I forgot to unplug it, then I didn't plug into shore power. When I woke up the next morning, I woke up to my lights flicking and bleeping, and it turns out I had drained my batteries down super low.
I haven't plugged into shore power in over a month because I just haven't had to, because driving charges the batteries in solar. So last night, turns out my power was gone. The culprit of the whole thing is those heat pads we installed, which there is a little power left, but it's like real low. I plugged it into the shore power, which didn't do anything. And so I kicked the van on, thinking that it would charge off the vehicle's batteries, but maybe I have to be driving for it to do that. I don't know what's going on.
Now, because they're deep cycle batteries, they can discharge that low, but that is so low that it's damaging to the batteries. And I had thought, uh-oh, I had just screwed up my entire system, because when I went to go kick it on, I thought, oh, because I have that voltage relay sensor, when I kick the van on, it'll charge the batteries in the back. But that voltage relay sensor won't sense that low of voltage, and it's like a safety thing, so it doesn't want to charge a dead battery and like cause it to explode, right? That's a thing. So I panicked and I tried to figure it out, and then I put some jumper cables to it, thought that would do it. It didn't work. What ended up happening was my dad gave me a trickle charger, like a deep cycle trickle charger, that would charge batteries that were down to like 8 volts or even lower. So I popped that on there, it brought it up to a recognizable voltage, and then the van started charging through shore power. So I did damage my batteries, yes, I made a mistake. I should have put them on a switch. I should have turned them off when I went to bed so I wouldn't forget about it, but I forgot. I forgot to pull the fuse out, and they drained my batteries. So yeah, I have damaged batteries, but they work still fine enough. I've been running off of it since November, and they're doing the trick. They just don't charge as high as they used to. All right, see you, dude. So during that time, it was around Thanksgiving, and so I thought, okay, let's go on a little trip. And the only person available to go with me was Andy.
There you are.
So we ended up going to a place called Jackson Falls. We ended up kicking ass, but you'll have to check that episode out if it's live. It should be live. It might not be now, but it will be eventually. Do you need to take a break, or?
I'm just gonna change it.
So a few months of the winter, I was traveling a lot for work, and that's kind of a difficult thing to do with pets and living in a van. I'd always have to go meet my mom. I'd leave Archer and Rocky with them.
It has been 2 weeks since we've last seen Man. I find myself sitting in small places like this dishwasher that remind me of home. I do hope he comes back soon.
And I'd go travel for work and then pick him up again. And it kind of sucks.
Gotta make sure we tuck in for these cold nights, right, Rock?
And I kind of learned a valuable lesson when leaving the van in the winter and not being in it.
I've been gone the past week for work. We were out in South Carolina filming, and I had to leave the van for a full week, and it got down to like negative.
Was that right? Was it like negative 30?
Negative 40 or something like that at night.
Yeah, so it was like negative 30 with a wind chill.
Between negative 20 and like,
And I hadn't done anything to prep my lines, like my water lines for that. And I also turned the heat off in the van, trying to save on gas. And so it got so cold in the van that when I got back, I had an icicle poking out of my shower head. My shower lines had bursted, like the copper lining, copper tubes, because the water had nowhere to go. I should have opened all my valves up. I should have drained my lines. I should have blown them all out. I didn't do that. It cracked my water filter. It exploded my water purifier, which was $180. And it just wreaked havoc on all my valves. Anything that wasn't that PEX tubing, it wasn't expandable enough to support the freezing.
siphon. I hear it. I hear you pulling air.
So that took like a month easily to fix, because it could be the smallest little crack that could get air into your lines and prevent you from getting the proper pressure to run your water.
There you have it. Shut off. Did it.
So moving forward, I'll know what to do. There's a bee on me. The other thing that I think I'm gonna do is insulate my exterior lines and then get rid of that 6-foot drainage tube from the gray water tank and make it so that I can drain it directly from the holding tank. But that's something we've got to do this time around before the freezing weather comes in. So this coming October, that's what we're going to focus on. Plus, I think I have to pull apart the bathroom because during the winter, we went on a big snowboard trip.
Jewel.
We went back out west, and this time we didn't have Aaron, we had Nick.
Oh, what's up? Oh, I got a freestyle? My dick's so big that it's hard to walk.
And the first time Nick drove the van, I think it was like 4 hours of driving. We stopped for gas, and he put a massive ass dent in the side of the van.
How'd that get there?
It's a long story. It's dark outside, it's windy, it's raining, the wind is just gushing. And then next thing I know, a jaguar jumps into the middle of the road. And obviously I don't want to hit the jaguar because they're endangered species. And so I swerve off, and there was this pole that happened to be right there. And thankfully I'm an amazing driver and didn't completely wreck the van into it. And we got away just barely unscathed with this little dent, and everyone's here and alive, so you're welcome.
And it's right where my bathroom is, my shower walls. And no one's gonna pull that dent out because they're worried of starting a fire. You probably have to tack weld on one of those rods and then put a slide hammer to pull the dent out, but they're worried when they tack that on, it might start a fire with the insulation. So they said we have to pull the wall out on the bathroom, which means basically the entire bathroom has to come apart. We'll see, it's a big undertaking. I'm not looking forward to doing it, but it's something we're eventually gonna have to do. And we went on a couple snowboard trips, now that I think about it. We only went on 2, but we went to 3, 4 places. Fuck, you got it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It's lunchtime for the boys.
All the time.
Yeah.
Smells like wieners.
His name was Frank Hearn.
Dude, I hit the sickest runs, dude.
Yeah. So eventually the weather broke, and by the time spring came around, we had pretty much finished everything in the van.
And we're gonna end it there. That's part 1. We just covered fall and winter. Next video, we're gonna cover the spring and summer. So you're gonna see what it's like living in Indiana, dealing with the heat and humidity, having a dog and a cat in a van, man. Make sure to like, subscribe. I hope you like this video, and maybe in the comments, let me know what you guys want to see in the future. If there's something you guys want me to tackle or talk about, maybe I can whip something together that you will want to see. I don't know, maybe. Next time, part 2. Okay, I got it. That's enough of that.